Hello, I'm Fernando Hellman from the Federal University of Santa Catarina in south of Brazil, and I'll be discussing post-trial access and pandemic research insights from Brazilian regulators, ANVISA and CONEP during COVID-19. I'm part of the research consortium Pandemic Ethics, led by Professor Rose Bernabe from the University of Oslo. Post-trial access, hereafter referred as to PTA, is one of the most controversial issues in research ethics, particularly in public health emergencies, and requires clear and pragmatic ethical and regulatory frameworks. In Brazil, the National Health Surveillance Agency, ANVISA, and the National Health Ethics Commission, CONEP, perform distinct but complementary roles in the oversight of clinical trials. ANVISA regulate and supervise medical products, including clinical research, while CONEP set ethical guidelines and evaluated research protocols. The research objective was to analyze how Brazilian regulators from ANVISA and CONEP conceptualize definitions, responsibilities, and implementation strategies related to post-trial access in clinical trial conducted during COVID-19 pandemic's emergency. Our methodology was a qualitative study with semi-structured interview with key regulator stakeholders from ANVISA and CONEP during COVID-19 pandemic response period. We made 5 in-depth interviews exploring regulatory perspective on PTA, governance in Brazil, challenge, and implementation strategies. And we performed a thematic analysis and after a comparative framework between them. About the results and discussion, the overview of regulatory perspective on PTA. This slide summarizes the general orientation of both regulatory bodies. Brazilian regulators' approach of PTA through distinct but complementary framework shaped by institutional mandates and pandemic pressures. ANVISA adopts a high-structured regulation-based approach to PTA, while CONEP engage more directly with protocol-level problems and participant protection. Despite their complementarity roles, both institutions recognize that the extraordinary ethical pressures of the pandemic and the lack of coordinated action between them. ANVISA conceptualized post-trial access within an established regulatory framework. Resolutions already provide mechanisms such as expanded and compassionate access. ANVISA underscore constant monitoring and the authority to intervene, and the obligation of sponsors to include PTA costs at the planning stage. Regulators also link PTA to broader goals, such as in strengthening the national pharmaceutical sector and promoting technology transfer. While CONEP approach differs, it is less structured and more reactive. Regulators report multiple cases where protocols lacked PTA guarantees. They often intervene to correct these gaps. For CONEP, the informed consent form is the key instrument to protect participant rights. Their decisions are frequently triggered by complaints, demonstrating a model that is ethical protective but insufficiently systematic. Are key differences between ANVISA and CONEP. This comparison highlights the structural difference. ANVISA works at the macro level, focusing on regulation and international alignment. CONEP operates in the micro level, intervening directly to safeguard participants. This complementary yet fragmented governance model creates challenges in ensuring seamless post-trial access during emergencies. Patent and access debate. Both institutions strongly criticize the monopolistic nature of global patent system, especially during emergencies. ANVISA explicitly supports compulsory licensing, while CONEP stress pricing justice and public availability. Despite distinct emphasis, both agree that patent-driven exclusivity undermines equitable post-trial access and benefit sharing. The benefits identified in PTA governance. According to respondents, PTA brings benefits beyond the individual level. While participants may gain early access to effective interventions, the larger community benefits from strengthened research capacity in Brazil and improved transparencies. ANVISA, in particular, associates PTA with opportunities for national technological advancement. But persistent challenges was identified. These challenges reflect vulnerabilities exacerbated by the pandemic. Coordination gaps undermine consistent decision-making. Ethical rigor is threatened when rapid responses are required. And regulators emphasized the fragility of many research ethics committees and highlighted political industry pressures, especially lobbying against PTA mandates. How regulators responded to these challenges? Despite the challenges, regulators took decisive action. ANVISA rejected unsupported protocols and reinforced monitoring. CONEP intervened in specific PTA failures and reaffirmed autonomy despite external pressures. Both institutions increased transparency and relied on existing expanded access pathways. So, broader ethical reflection from the pandemic. The pandemic illuminated profound inequalities in the global access to vaccines and treatments. Nationalistic or profit-driving strategies weaken public health responses because viruses do not respect borders. It defined and reinforced the health must be treated as a universal human right and equitable access in a global ethical obligation. So, conclusion and recommendation. The study shows a dual governance model in Brazil that is complementary but fragmented. While ANVISA provides the macro-level normative structure, CONEP restores ethical guarantees when problems arise. However, without systematic integration, PTA cannot be effectively guaranteed. Finally, the core recommendation. These recommendations arise directly from the interviews. Regulators emphasize the need for stronger coordination, mandatory PTA planning, systematic post-trial monitoring, and policies that ensure medicines tested in Brazil are accessible to its population. Innovation must be reconciled with equity. Here are my contact, my email, and I would like to thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.